You know, this is a very famous song from the civil rights movement of the 60s, written by Pete Seeger and made famous by Pete Seeger. And I'm old enough to remember the 1960s, and I was in Chicago growing up during that time, and Martin Luther King coming through and speaking, and the whole spirit of people trying to break away from old prejudices and come together again. So this is a beautiful song, so we're all going to sing together, right? It's a good, simple, lovely folk song that'll... We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, yes, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, yes, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we are not alone today. We shall all be free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free today. All deep in my heart, yes, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Here we go, everybody, sing this one. Here we go. Black and white together. Black and white together. Black and white together today. Oh, deep in my heart, yes, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. You know, when I see that black and white together, it reminds me of that time. But I've moved out here from California, from Chicago to California, and all the colors of the rainbow of the people out here have impressed upon me the need for everybody to stay together now. And Martin Luther King's message was not just relegated to black and white, but to all races, all peoples coming together. So we want to keep that in mind as we approach this spirit. He was not exclusively built upon that principle of just two different types of people, but everybody together. We shall overcome someday. We shall overcome someday.
Not yet. Thank you for that beautiful rendition, Patrick. And with no further ado, you know he's coming up because he's got that bow tie on. Oh, and he's got red suede shoes. People on Zoom, you are missing out, I got to tell you. He's got his red suede shoes on today. So with no further ado, here is Rev.Gerry Brague with today's lesson.
Just so you know, I injured my back somehow. I think it's because of age. I did nothing to bring this on, but if I wince, that's why. On this weekend, when we commemorate what would have been the 93rd birthday of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we pause not only to remember and reflect, but also to hope and dream for the future. Martin Luther King was a dreamer. What is probably his most famous speech is we've come to call the I Have a Dream speech. It was given on August 28, 1963, on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. King was a dreamer in a very good way. He dreamt of a nation that would leave behind its racism and ties to slavery, and that all who lived here would be equal. He was an eloquent preacher, a gifted writer, a passionate activist who was committed to nonviolence, and an inspired theologian. Those are two words that don't often go together, inspired theologian. King's impact on America and the world is still being felt to this day, which is why we set aside his birthday as a way to commemorate this powerful and inspiring leader. King's dream became the dream for many of this nation. His ways of pacifism and justice-seeking live on through his followers and many who would walk in his footsteps. But there was more to his speech on that summer's day in Washington than his dream. In his eloquence, he made a case for the need for justice and justice now. Listen to these words of his that I'll quote, and I'm not going to edit them to make their language inclusive. Quote, "In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as their citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check that has come back marked insufficient funds." And King continues with his banking metaphor. "But we refuse to believe the bank of justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vault of opportunity of this nation. And so we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and security of justice. We have also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children." King was definitely a wordsmith. King used a metaphor that America could hear and understand. He spoke of checks being written but not fulfilled, banking words that remind all of us of the debt that is owed to people of color. We all understand what a bad check is and how the Bank of Justice was and remains bankrupt. Over the past few years, the movement of Black Lives Matter has been born and grown into a force that affects us. The bankruptcy that King spoke of continues today in the way that people of color are treated and threatened by the very systems that are meant to protect us all. Rather, they tend to protect those of us who are white while hindering and oppressing those of us who are black. Those systems can come from government, schools, businesses, and even, sadly, religious organizations and churches. We are a nation that is, and culture that is bankrupt and defaulting on its debts of justice. King was absolutely right. And now, some 59 years after his speech there on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, we once again need to stop and take stock of who we are as a nation and where we are going. The rise in popularity of the Proud Boys, a neo-fascist, far-right, violent organization, and other groups like it, point out our country's white privilege and a racist nature. The growing popularity of these groups is a threat to justice, not just for people of color, but for all of us, no matter our race. But the threat is strongest for people of color, as we face a philosophy that would take us back over 100 years to another era. The threat is real and leads to violence. And the bankruptcy motif is strong and signals the need for those of us who have the funds of justice to share and make sure it is equally distributed among all our citizens. King's metaphor speaks to all of us, even to this day, and maybe especially to this day, in strong and powerful ways. Almost 60 years after King's speech, of waiting for that check to clear is a long, long time. Too many white folks have held on to their funds of justice, hoarding them as if there was a limited supply. But justice is unlimited and boundless. There is enough to go around for all of us. There is no need to hoard and no need to hold on to what can easily be shared and spread around to all. I pray and hope that progress has been made since that speech, though as a white person, I'm not the one to make that assessment. But I fear that what progress has been made has been undercut by groups such as the Proud Boys, as well as the Ku Klux Klan, which remains strong and viable in many parts of our country. So I invite you to please spend some time this weekend and tomorrow, the day when we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. and his life and legacy, reflecting on your part in fighting against racism and white privilege. That will be different for all of us, for sure, depending on many factors, but we can all do something to increase the funds of justice so that checks drawn on the bank that King speaks of will not be returned, but be cashed for a brighter, freer, more justice-filled time ahead. Keep the dream, that famous dream that King spoke about in that same speech. Keep it alive and growing so that his vision for a racist-free country can be attained. And so it is. Amen. So for today's meditation, I'm going to focus on the words of Reverend Dr. King and speak some of his quotes as we sit quietly from his quotes from his speeches and sermons. But first, I invite you to get comfortable wherever you are. Relax. If you want, feel free to close your eyes or soft focus them at a downward angle. Free your minds of concerns and worries of the day. Be present to the moment at hand and let these words sink in. And I invite you to take a deep breath and hold it for a moment, and then slowly let it out. And let's do that a few more times in this silence. Let us hear these words from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl, but by all means, keep moving. Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. True peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be a sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or fail. Be the best of whatever you are. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. I invite you now to begin to come back to where you are as you let these words sink into your mind and soul. Carry these words with you as you begin to move your fingers and wiggle your toes. And feel free, if you haven't already, to open your eyes and look around you. I welcome you back to wherever you may be. Thank you.
Thank you, Rev.Gerry, for that wonderful tribute to Dr. King, whose messages are timeless. And I heard one time something that stayed with me, and that is that when somebody passes, makes their transition, the best way to honor them is to adopt one of their characteristics, qualities, causes, and just imagine what a world it would be if everybody decided to do that to honor Dr. King. There is still a lot of work that needs to be done, and I appreciate being reminded of his words again. So, here at Unity Spiritual Center, we are an ocean of love. Here at Unity Spiritual Center, we have an inspiring vision, compelling values, and an exciting mission by which we strive to live, and I invite you to join with me in saying these aloud. Our vision is centered in God. We co-create a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. Our mission is, we are a creative, joy-filled spiritual community dedicated to healing, inspiring, and transforming the lives of all people through prayer, education, and love. And our values are, we are spirit-led, generous with resources, inclusive, joyously creative, and guided by integrity. And in this space, feeling inspired by our vision, mission, and values, feeling enriched by what we've experienced here today and what we'll experience as we meet with each other after the service. Let us take time now to be a channel for enrichment through our generous tithes and love offerings. As Patrick sings another beautiful song, please take that time to write out a check to USC. Or if you are on Zoom, please do make a donation online using the link that Gerry will put in the chat in a second. And if you are here in the sanctuary, the ushers will come forward to take your offering. Practicing the principle of tithing ourselves, as a spiritual community, we are pleased to tithe 10% of the offering collected every Sunday to various Unity organizations and local nonprofits serving our city. So let's take a moment now to bless our tithes and our love offerings, placing them in our hands perhaps or next to our hearts as we say our offertory prayer. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
All right. So, when Michael asks me to sub, I always try and find out what the theme of the talk is going to be, and obviously that was a wonderful sermon given by Reverend Brague, but I also try and write a song for these occasions. So I'm very grateful for being able to do these kind of exercises, and hopefully they'll enjoy this and sing along with me. And as Miss Reverend Maggie said, there's still a lot of work to be done, right? But I really believe after my years as a teacher in school, it's young people that have to make this change now. And I'm counting on young people to make a move forward, okay? When you walk through this world feeling so alone, life falls apart at the seams. Look deep inside for the seeds that you've shown. Try to hold on to that dream. Trust in your heart to be leading you there. You feel like you're floating downstream through rocky shoals of your worries and your cares. Try to hold on to that dream. Hold on, hold on, hold on to that dream. Hold on, stay strong now. Hold on to that dream. Just watch a child so free to explore. Imagination is supreme. Don't be afraid to go back through that door where love has the power to redeem. Don't we all wish for the very same things, just to be heard and be seen? Someone to love and the love that it brings. Oh, try to hold on to that dream. Hold on, hold on to that dream. Hold on and stay strong, yeah. Hold on to that dream. Everybody's got dreams that are locked inside their hearts. Set them free and climb the stars. Yeah, why don't you hold on? Come on, hold on, yeah. Hold on to your dreams. I need you to help me now. Again, we got to clap together. Hold on. Talk about it. Hold on. Hold on to that dream, whatever you got inside your heart now. Hold on, sing with me now. Hold on, yeah, let me say, hold on to your dream. Everybody's got a dream inside their heart now. Hold on, yeah, come on. I said you got to, you hold on to your dreams. Everybody knows, and Aggie knows, don't you know? Hold on, come on and hold on. Hold on to. Don't you know you got to hold on when it's dark outside and you're wondering what you got to find? Where's the light? You know that you have got to hold on strong. Hold on strong. Hold on strong to that dream. How about Ron up here?
So I want to thank everyone who's giving service today, including Ethel, our usher, Susan Ledford, and Kathy Russell for being at the greeting table this morning. I want to thank everybody on the worship team, Patrick for the incredible music, Brock for the incredible slides, and Rev.Gerry again for the incredible lesson. Let's give all of them a big round of applause. And the announcement that I just want people to have on their radar screens is that at the very end of the month, we are going to do our annual volunteer appreciation service. And as I believe most people know by now, I